Wheels of History, reviving the forgotten crafts of 19th century wagon makers. The art of wagon making in the 1800s was a vital craft that played a crucial role in transportation, commerce, and the settlement of new territories. Wagon makers, known as wheelwrights and carriage makers, were highly skilled artisans who crafted wagons for a variety of purposes, including freight transport, personal travel, agriculture, and military use. These craftsmen employed age-old techniques that have since faded with the advent of industrialization, but their work was essential to life in the 19th century. This narrative is sponsored by Polly Speaks For You. At Polly Speaks For You, we are driven by a passion for empowering individuals, particularly those with disabilities or learning challenges, through innovative text-to-speech and voice recognition technology. Polly Speaks For You is more than just software. It's a lifeline that bridges the gap, enabling people to express themselves and connect with the world in impactful ways. By merging the richness of history with cutting-edge technology, Polly Speaks For You shows how every voice, whether preserving the past or shaping the future, has the power to inspire. And now, back to the story. The forgotten craft of wagon making. 1. The importance of the wagon. In the 1800s, before the widespread use of railroads and automobiles, wagons were the primary means of moving goods and people over long distances. Settlers used wagons to travel westward. Farmers transported crops, and merchants carried goods to market. Wagons were indispensable for trade, agriculture, and even military operations. The most famous wagon type from this era is the Conestoga wagon, which was widely used for transporting freight over long distances. The prairie schooner was a smaller version used by pioneers traveling across the American plains. 2. The wheelwright, master of wooden wheels. The wheelwright was a key figure in wagon making, responsible for crafting the wooden wheels, which were arguably the most important part of the wagon. The art of making wooden wheels was intricate and required great precision. A wood selection. Wheelwrights often used durable hardwoods like oak, ash, and hickory for the spokes and rims. These woods could withstand the pressure of the load and the rugged terrain. Spoke and hub assembly. The wheel was built from the inside out, starting with the hub, which housed the axle. The spokes were carefully fitted into the hub, with each spoke requiring precision to ensure that the wheel rolled smoothly. The rim. The rim was made in segments and bent using heat and steam to form the perfect circular shape. For added strength, the rim was often banded with a heated metal tire, iron or steel. Once cooled, the metal tire would contract, clamping the wooden parts together tightly. 3. Crafting the wagon body. Wagon bodies were built by carriage makers, who were responsible for constructing the frame and the cargo area. The body was usually made of wood, with metal parts used for reinforcement. Woodworking skills. Carriage makers needed a deep understanding of woodworking, as they had to build strong yet lightweight frames. Different types of wagons had different body designs based on their intended purpose. For example, farm wagons had open flatbeds for carrying crops or hay. Freight wagons were large, enclosed wagons designed to haul heavy goods. Passenger wagons like stagecoaches had more elaborate, enclosed bodies for carrying people. 4. The role of the blacksmith. Blacksmiths worked closely with wagon makers, crafting the metal components that held the wooden parts together. They forged the metal hoops for the wheels, the axle hardware, the bolts, and any iron reinforcements for the frame. The blacksmith's forge was essential for heating metal to shape it for the wagon's needs, particularly for the iron tires that were fitted onto wooden wheels. 5. Balancing functionality and design. Wagon makers had to balance functionality with design. A wagon needed to be strong enough to carry heavy loads over rough terrain, yet light enough to be pulled by horses or oxen. Suspension. Some wagons had basic suspensions to make the ride smoother. For instance, stagecoaches had leather straps or springs beneath the body to absorb shocks from the rough roads. Customization. Wagon makers also customized wagons to meet the specific needs of the customer. Some wagons were built for rugged terrain, while others were designed for speed or comfort. 6. Tools and techniques. The tools used by wagon makers in the 1800s were simple but effective. They used hand planes, saws, chisels, adzes, and augers to shape the wood. Steam boxes were used to bend wood for the rims. Metal components were forged by the blacksmith using anvils, tongs, and hammers. The wheelwright and blacksmith would often work side by side to ensure the wheels fit the metal tires perfectly. Jointing. Mortise and tenon joints were commonly used for connecting parts, as they provided a strong bond between pieces of wood. 7. The wagon as a symbol of expansion. The wagon became a powerful symbol of exploration and the westward expansion of the United States. It carried pioneers across the continent, enabling them to settle in new territories. Wagon trains, composed of multiple wagons traveling together, were a common sight on the Oregon Trail and other routes west. These journeys were often long and dangerous, and a well-built wagon was essential for survival. Mules, oxen, and horses pulled these wagons, with careful consideration given to the animals' abilities to handle different terrains. 8. The decline of the craft. With the arrival of railroads and the advent of the automobile in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the need for wagons and the craft of wagon making began to decline. Factories and mass production methods replaced the handcrafting of wagons, and many of the techniques used by wheelwrights and carriage makers faded into history. Today, wagon making is considered a forgotten craft, with only a few artisans keeping the tradition alive, often for historical reenactments, museums, or enthusiasts of traditional craftsmanship. In closing, wagon making in the 1800s was a complex and skillful craft that combined carpentry, metalworking, and design. These craftsmen created vehicles that were essential to everyday life, commerce, and the settlement of new lands. Though the industrial age eventually made these skills obsolete, the ingenuity and artistry of wagon makers remain a fascinating chapter in the history of transportation and craftsmanship. If you're enjoying this story, please remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating content that educates and empowers. To learn more about South Africa's leading accessibility software and to support our dyslexic-friendly initiative, visit www.polispeaks4u.co.za. Thank you for watching.